Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the new webinar of the Guayaquil Space Society in collaboration with Centro Ecuatoriano Norteamericano, CEN. We're very excited that you're here with us tonight, and we have a very special session planned. Since last we met, there have been some outstanding news regarding space and how people are doing some incredible things. We see new rocket tests, new launches, special missions like the Webb Observatory that has been launched, and many, many more. We see private companies launching satellites to observe, like Orbital Psychic. We see agricultural companies looking in this case to see the potential of what can be done with hyperspectral imaging, especially in Ecuador with the banana sector. And then we are having kids all over the world looking to see how they can get involved. We even have a school from Ecuador now looking to participate in doing research in the International Space Station, Escuela Jefferson. So we're very glad from Jefferson for their participation and that they decided to develop a STEAM program for all their students. So many things are happening, but the important thing to understand now is how does that get transmitted to the people? How do people know? How do people figure it out? And how do you reach more people about all these amazing things and how it can impact other folks around the world? And that's the purpose of this webinar for tonight. We're going to be talking about space marketing, and we're going to be seeing what lessons can be gleaned about what we can do also here on Earth from all these experiences that are happening all over the world. And we have a great session plan. We have book author Izzy participating with us, joining us to share about her new book about space marketing, a great subject. And then we also have Marisol Carbo, who's a marketing expert, who's going to be the moderator for the event, and she's going to share her thoughts with Izzy about what's happening right now and how we can all get involved and see about these exciting opportunities that are being developed and what applications we can do to apply for regular businesses. And that's a great part of that conversation about how people can learn about how these exciting rocket launches and things going into space can definitely apply for people with their local businesses and how they relate to that. So without further ado, I want to introduce first Marisol Carbo, our own Guayaquil Space Society member, who's going to be taking the lead as moderator. Welcome, Marisol.
Hi, Robert. Thank you so much. And hi, everybody. Thank you for being here and participating and supporting us. I see Romina there. Hi, Romina. So glad that you're here. Okay, so I'm here and I'm glad to be here with Izzy House. She's a self-proclaimed marketing expert and space nerd. So very interesting. And she just launched a new book that is called Space Marketing, Competing in the New Commercial Space Industry. The goal of Izzy with this book is to empower space companies and further their dreams of space explorations. So I don't know if all of the people that are joining us here today are marketing fans, but I'm sure you all are space fans. So with that, I'm gonna have Izzy give us a short introduction about her book and about what she does. So Izzy, please let us know a little bit about your new book.
All right, well, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what marketing is and what it's not.
Perfect.
How many of you guys love commercials? So you're watching the big game and maybe it's football. Barcelona is on fire and making their way down the field. They're getting close. They kick and the commercial comes on. I guess it's time to go to the restroom because that's usually what you do during commercials. How many of you love that? Or what about the pushy salesman that you worked a hard day and you're on your way home and they just won't leave you alone? Is that what you think of, is that what a lot of us think is marketing? That is a tiny, tiny bit of what marketing is. And unfortunately, that's what we think of when we think of marketing, because that is what annoys us the most. Now, that's not my marketing. That's not what I'm promoting here. My book is about the connection with people. It's about the relationship that you want with your audience. And when I say audience, I'm not talking about some crowd in a hall that you can't see. I'm talking about the people that you're talking to, that you want to talk to, and that want to talk to you. It's about creating a conversation with content. Now, let me ask you, okay? Do you have a favorite team? Maybe you have a Barcelona jersey. Do you have a NASA t-shirt? What about NASA little gizmos? What's your favorite restaurant? Your car? A sport? What's your favorite sport? What do you want to do when you grow up? What college program are you attending? What career are you passionate about? Without marketing, none of that would exist. Without marketing, the team that you love, poof, it doesn't exist. Without marketing, the Apollo program would never have existed. The rocket would have never left the Earth, and a person would have never walked on the moon. Without marketing, vaccines would have never helped get rid of the ravages of polio. Without marketing, the ideals of freedom would never have transformed a country. Marketing, it builds lives, it saves lives, and it changes lives. This is the kind of marketing that I promote. Why did I write this book? I wrote this book to promote space. Pure and simple. In order to promote space, you need to give the tools to the people that are in space. And this book is designed to give tools to businesses so they can effectively promote space. Why is this important? Because it changes our lives. Let me give you an example of how space exploration will change our lives. We get to the moon and we want to go to Mars. Well, last time I checked, there were no dinosaurs on the moon or Mars. So how are we going to get there? New fuels will need to have been developed, and water in Mars, or Mars and the moon, they have water. So hydrogen fuel may be an option. Clean nuclear fuel may be an option. Now, if we develop a fuel based off of water, what do you think that's going to do to our cars, our factories, our pollution down here on Earth? There have been so many medical and technological advances based off of space. I am talking to you right now from a satellite. It's because we have satellites that I'm able to communicate with you. It is our phones are all run by satellites. The little camera phone that we have on our smartphone, that was designed for the Apollo program. From where we sleep, to the coats that we wear, to pest control, to weather. You know, we're able to see hurricanes coming. How many people have been saved because we can see a hurricane coming? That is from space. That is from satellites. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a thing real quick. What is marketing? You know, that is a very good question. And also one of the reasons that I wrote this book is because a lot of people don't even understand what it is. The actual definition from the American Marketing Association is marketing is the activity, set of institutions, and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings that have value for customers, clients, partners, and society at large. Now that's a mouthful. Let me break that down. Okay, so an offering. This could be an idea, the idea of going to Mars, the idea of curing a disease. This is the idea. You have to market an idea. Back when I first started my career, I was in an environmental incubator. I was surrounded by geniuses that had great ideas for taking care of our planet. They had revolutionary ideas on how to deal with water and how to eliminate garbage. And their ideas never left the building because they did not know how to promote them. They did not know how to get them in front of the right people with the right words to make a difference. Marketing makes that difference. So, what's your idea? What's your product? It could be a vaccine, like for polio, a service. Satellites are a service. A lot of people want service. These are not things that people don't want. Okay, so we have the offering, which includes the idea, the product, and the service. Now, the goal, sorry, lost my place here. Set of institutions. Marketing is the activity. That's what we're doing. The set of institutions, those are the tools that we use to do it. And the processes that we use for creating, communicating, talking, and delivering or exchanging. That means that I give you something, you give me something back. I can give you an idea and you can give me support for that idea. And here's the most important part. To have value for customers, clients, partners, society at large. That's all of us. Whatever you're giving in marketing, that has to provide a value for who's receiving. Now, marketing is called a lot of different things. It's called public relations, public affairs, promotion, education, communications. These are all things that feel less of a sales pitch. But good marketing does not feel like a sales pitch. Good marketing feels like a relationship. So let's talk about space for a minute and what is happening. Space, I read an article today, and they're looking at it being worth $4 trillion. Now, what does this all mean? This means that right now there are 10,000 companies that are in space. There are 5,000 investors in space. And according to Forbes this morning, 130 countries had government agencies. Now, what kind of company is space? There's a couple of different sectors, and that I want to just kind of inspire you with. For example, 3D printing, huge thing right now. We have a company right outside of Louisville, which is near where I live, that is working on 3D printing hearts, human hearts in space. They can't do it down here because it's like printing with water. It can't build on itself. But in space, there's no gravity. Now, if we can 3D print hearts that do not get rejected, what is that going to do for us? And in order to explore, go beyond our world, we need to have 3D printing where we can replace parts. Right now, Boeing can 3D print a jet engine. So, I mean, it is phenomenal where this technology is going to take us. Robotics that have been done on the International Space Station has dribbled down here. And now you have people with prosthetics that are not bound to wheelchairs. They can walk. They can use their hands. They have robotic hands that work just like regular hands. That came from space. Culinary. Say you like to cook. Well, if we're going to be putting a base on the moon, a base on Mars, or even more international space stations, which there is plans to have more space stations, they got to eat. There is a whole study on food and culinary food in space. There is an association that is looking at beverages, in space. How does fermentation happen? How does beer get made? Maybe it's about farming. If we're going to put anything out in space, we need to be able to grow food. Well, that's going to impact how we grow food down here. We can't waste water. We can't have runoff. We can't have polluted farms in space because it's so encapsulated. So new practices will be discovered that will help our farming down here and make a difference on our planet. Sports. Yes, sports. There's a whole segment of companies that are looking at sports in space. Hotels, having a hotel in space. Well, there are all kinds of hotel personnel. You like the hotel business? There you go. Up in space. Law is going to be huge. Space law. It already is. Mining. Bennu, which is an asteroid. There's we had a spaceship. Bennu. It took some samples and it's on its way back here with samples because we're looking at how we can mine asteroids and create things in space. We can't take everything with us. We have to make it out there. That's going to change how we mine down here. Satellites, again, Starlink is going to open up corners of the globe that have never had access to regular communications. And it's going to make it to where people can trade and do business with each other across the world, like what we're doing right now. Habitat design. There's going to be all kinds of habitat designs that are going to impact how our houses are done here. 3D printing and habitat design are combined right now, and they're looking at building houses with robots on Mars before we even get there. And they're already 3D printing houses here on the planet that are more environmentally sound, and they go up quicker, they cost less. So people that in areas where they've been struggling financially, now everybody can have a house. Energy, like I talked about before, is going to change because in space, you don't have as much energy to use. So you have to be a little bit more frugal with it. We're going to learn how to save energy. We're going to learn how to get the most out of the energy we have. And we're going to come up with different ways of having energy, different sources. It's not going to be coal. It's not going to be gas. It's not going to be that because we're the only one with dinosaurs. Transportation, construction, all those industries will be impacted by our exploration of space. Medical, this is one of the biggest things. Diabetes is rampant on this planet. And I don't know how many millions of people check their blood sugar every day with a strip on with a drop of blood. That was designed on the International Space Station to monitor astronauts because their blood sugar changes when you're in space. So that technology is just one small example of how we have benefited down here and how it has saved our lives. Now, how can you change the world? Build a company or establish a space industry or any other kind of industry if no one knows you exist. Marketing makes you exist. So there's my intro to that.
Izzy, thank you so much. That was a very great introduction with a lot of information. And actually a couple of my the questions that I was gonna make, it's crystal clear for me. But as you were talking, on one hand, I was thinking, I mean, this is a really big industry. You talked about it's gonna reach 4 trillions or 4 billion?
$4 trillion is
4
what?
trillions. Yeah, I was like, is that right? Is that number right? So it's so big that on one hand, I was thinking, oh my God, as a marketer, this is a segment that we really need to look into because it's really big and there's a lot to do and in the future. But then it's not just for us marketers, because I thought we were gonna talk only about space marketing, but it's also about all the things that affect our lives. You just talk about so many different industries that are going to be affected and changed for the better in the future that we really need to start paying more attention to everything that is happening, because our future is changing. I mean, with everything that is happening, you know, maybe not our immediate future, but as I think of my daughter, who is 3 years old, she's gonna know a future that is totally different from what we're living right now. And so we really, everybody has to pay, you know, attention to all these changes and what's coming in the future. So it's been really eye-opening, all the things that you have told us right now. And I have my head really, you know, thinking about all these things, and I'm gonna really dig a little bit more about all these changes in these industries. I also wanted to ask you, as a marketer, I read and I couldn't agree more with you, that one of the big challenges for, you know, companies and entrepreneurs is to really communicate in an effective way their worth, the value that they give. You know, that's really challenging because not everybody knows how to do it well, so it really gets to the other part. So I think your book aims, you know, at doing that. But all these years, like this couple of years, you know, the space industry has been bursting, and I wanted to ask you how has that happened without proper marketing, so to speak? Like all these companies and all these, you know, people in the space industry, how have they managed, you know, to make such big, you know, have so much success in so little time, relatively speaking, without proper marketing? How has that happened?
Actually, there has been proper marketing. If you want to study a great marketing case, study NASA. NASA has been marketing the whole way. During the 60s, they worked with their partners and marketed space. They educated people. Education is a huge facet of marketing, because if nobody understands what it is you're talking about, they can't get excited about it. NASA got the American people excited about space to the point that the government allocated 4% of its national budget to make this thing happen. If you didn't get the people on board, it would have never happened. That's why I said, you know, without marketing, we would have never had a rocket launch at all. So it is marketing that made that happen. And a lot of marketing doesn't have to be, I've got something to buy. It's just basically making it to where it's promoting a career. All of these people that are engineers and scientists, they were marketed to, but we just call it a different thing. We call it public relations or public affairs or education. But marketing is the act of making what it is that you have of value, making it known. If you're a university, it's making your programs known so that people that are in high school can be excited about the careers that they go into. That's marketing. And it doesn't have to be an ad. In fact, there's very little paid marketing in my book. Most of the things that I suggest are not paid. And the trick to getting marketing done effectively is understanding who you're talking to. Because the time of the one-way conversation, you know, the billboards or the TV commercials or even the Facebook ads, those have come to an end because people, they talk back now. They have the ability to talk back. They have the ability to turn you off or skip you or not go on Facebook. Facebook is starting to have a little bit of a problem because people aren't going on there as much.
And they don't want to be, you know, be tracked also, you know, people can now, at least, you know, the ones on the iOS platform, they can now opt out of being, you know, their activity tracked. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a problem for Facebook. But the other thing that I agree is that people you know, we are kind of sick of being, you know, like prompt with all this, you know, advertising all the time. And now, you know, if you don't like something and you don't give it your time, you don't give it your likes, you don't give it your attention, you know, the platform simply says, okay, I'm not going to show this anymore to these people. And so it's different, you know, when you were on TV or you are at the movies and they put, you know, a spot, you have to watch it. But now you can really choose with what you like and where you spend your time, what, you know, is going to be shown to you. And if you don't want to see it, you don't want to see it. And as you said, you just don't go, you know, on the platforms as much as you did. Another thing that is also here in my head is that, as you said, marketing makes you exist, makes you known. If the people don't know that you exist, how are they gonna, you know, buy or opt for your product or service or your company? And I wanted to add that it makes you exist, but it also has to make people care about, you know, your product or your brand. And also we have to go, you know, further and gain the trust, you know, of these people. And in the space industry, there's an issue of safety, you know, and for a long time, the space industry has been, you know, done kind of like by companies, or at the beginning, you know, it was all government. But now, you know, we have had 4 launches, as Robert, you can correct me, in less than, I think, 2 months, where even, you know, civilians have been, you know, to space and back safely. And every time I gather with my family to watch, you know, these launches, I'm very excited. We are all very excited, but at the same time, we're kind of praying that everything goes, you know, perfect. And so now I think there's going to start this marketing, you know, from, you know, direct, kind of, not right now because it's not mainstream, but, you know, in the future it's gonna go, you know, it's gonna be a marketing direct to consumers where, you know, you're gonna be able to go, maybe not in a rocket yet, but there are kind of balloons that you are going to be able to go to space. It's going to take more time, but you're going to have like a 6-hour, you know, trip going up and going down, and you're going to have all the views. And now it's a market directly to, you know, and this is kind of maybe only for space tourism, but you are marketing directly, you know, to the people that are going on, the vehicles that are going to space. And there's a safety issue there, and there's an issue of trust. I'm trusting you with my life here, that I'm going to space, but I'm coming back, back to my family. And we, everybody who saw Inspiration 4, we understood with that series the implications. They knew the implications, but they were willing to take that risk. But how do you market this, to people? And I am assuming is kind of when airplanes started, but now is it's a little bit I know I think it's a little bit different. How do you feel about that? Marketing. How do you gain the trust of the audience for this kind of services, experiences that are so risky?
Well, and first let me say that human space flight is a small part of space. We have robotics. The next particular launch that is going to the moon is all going to be done with robotics. And if that rocket doesn't make it there, then it's a lot of cost that's gone.
Yes, it's a lot of money and time and energy.
But the majority of what is marketed right now in space, the majority of the industry is satellites. It is the pictures that come back down from space. It's the weather. It is the manufacturing that's going to be done automatically up in space. The human space flight is a very, very small part, and they can't go to space unless it is safe. And there's all kinds of testing that they do to make sure that that's going to happen. Now, are we going to have problems? Yes. You can't drive a car without problems. And driving a car is more dangerous than flying in a plane. Going to space it's always going to have risk, but it is safer than it's ever been. But human space flight is a very small part of what we're focusing on. And that's going to grow as people experience it. And Perspectives is that balloon that you were talking about that's going to give people the view of the planet, which is called an overview effect. And it's very critical that people experience that so that they can see down on the Earth and say, look how fragile it is. I don't know if you got to see William Shatner's reaction. But
no, I just saw, going up and down, and then, but I didn't stay just a little bit after they opened, they opened the hatch, and Jeff, say, hi, welcome back to Earth. But no, what was his reaction?
He was in awe. He was amazed at how fragile our planet was, how, we have basically a thin balloon that encompasses our planet that is so fragile. And by people seeing it, they're going to look down and say, we've got to fix this. And that is already starting to happen. But there are so many other things happening in space. If like you want medicine, and that's a part of what you're interested in, there is a whole pharmaceutical manufacturing that's being done in orbit because compounds mix differently. There are all kinds of science projects and agricultural projects that are on the International Space Station. Those are things that we don't have to go up into. We don't have to get in a rocket to be a part of space. We can take what we love down here and make it applicable, make it work in space, and take that technology of what we learn and make it work better down here.
And do you think those kind of things need a little bit more, marketing? Because, the rockets get all the attention, the media attention and all the exciting, and it's exciting for, for grown-ups, for kids, and they get all the attention. But the other things that you have been talking about, they're so important and critical, for, our lives. Starting with health and all the innovation that they are doing in that segment, but they don't get that much, attention, or they don't get as much, cover from the media. So do you think?
And that's why
Why you wrote the book?
It's because, how many things did I talk about tonight that you had you had not even heard of? And that's because they don't know how to market their stuff.
Yes.
And part of that is because they've only had to woo NASA. If you had something that you were developing for space, you got a NASA grant. That's how you did it. There was a couple of investors, possibly, the SpaceXs of the world had not come into power yet. And SpaceX has changed space forever. In the legislation that they made happen, which has opened up all of space. But a lot of these very brilliant people, like the environmental incubator people that when I first started my business, they just don't know how to do it. And then there's a thought process to where I've created this cure for cancer. The world should come flocking to me because I put my paper in somewhere into a scientific thing. Well, if nobody knows you did a cure for cancer, how can anybody support you with it? So that is a mentality of a lot of geniuses that create these wonderful things, is they think that if they market it, that it cheapens it somehow. Because after all, if it was really that great, people would come flocking. But I can't give you an opportunity if I don't know you exist. I can't support it.
I find that very interesting. I work a lot with entrepreneurs and small companies, okay? And most of the times, especially entrepreneurs, they are so passionate about the business itself. Like if my company is about I don't know, something ecological or sustainable, they know all about that, and they can innovate about that, and that's their passion. But this is not for everybody, but most of them, they're so good at what they do, this passion they have, but they are not good at marketing it. And most of the time, they are not good with the numbers and finances and really the business side. Like they know their trade, and they're working hard and trying to make a difference and innovate, but they lack these two, I don't know how to say, these two wings, so they can really scale and fly with their businesses. And so why I'm telling this to you, because sometimes I think I have this theory that maybe what they need is to pair with someone who knows how to market and is willing to learn about this trade that they are good at, because not everybody is good, or their strength lies in communication. Their strength lies in whatever they are inventing or working, and let someone who knows marketing help them, and someone who knows numbers help them, because they're not going to be able to do everything. And I know this applies maybe only to entrepreneurs and small companies, because they don't have the resources, and so they want to do everything and they don't do it well. What you said was that these people don't want to be salesy. They don't want to be like, I want you to get it, and pushy in a way. What do you suggest? What do we do with these people that have so many good ideas and services and products, but they have to go, further and let that mentality go and really market, even market themselves. People now wants to know other people, the people behind the brands, people behind the companies. They want to know their stories. So now more than ever, they need to do it. They need to buy your book. But how do you? How do you get to them? How do you get to them?
that I wrote the book, this is what one of the things that prompted my writing of the book is I was getting involved. I was going to all these webinars and I was watching all these really fabulous space presentations.
Mhm.
And there was one in particular from a very well-known space business, and they had bullet points and they were talking all about what they were doing. And then one of the things that they were offering was marketing. Well, and I asked, well, you know, what do you, I was excited. What are you doing? The presenter did not understand what marketing even was. He could not even answer that question. So basically, this book is marketing is a conversation that you're having with the people that you want to work with, your audience, whether or not it's legislators, whether or not it's consumers. You know, it is a conversation. That's all marketing is. So if I put a post out there, then I need to understand who I'm talking to. Like you know, if you're behind glass and I can't hear you and I'm just throwing things at the glass, that's what
Mhm.
most people do at marketing.
Yes.
Marketing is understanding who you're talking to. Ask them what their problems are and then answer their questions. That is what marketing is. So if I have a product that is about farming and it's a new practice, well, then I want to talk to those people that are going to be interacting with me and purchasing my services. But I have to ask them, what are your problems that you're dealing with? How can I answer them? And then you develop content that answers their questions. It addresses their pain points. It solves their issues. That's what marketing is. It's a conversation you're having with your audience.
And I
That's a
think
great question,
yes.
Marisol. That's a great thought, Izzy. We also have some questions from the audience that they really
Oh,
want to
that's
be
great.
engaged.
That's
So
great.
if
Thank you,
we can give them
Robert.
some time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's see what. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Miss House, are traveling spaceships using hydrogen as fuel to move through space? And do you think that hydrogen could be a load to move cars on Earth? Could be used. Could be
Yes.
used to.
Well,
Yes.
we have found evidence of water on the moon and evidence of water on every place we've looked. There's evidence of water. So we need to use fuel that's already out there.
Mhm.
And hydrogen is a fuel. And if we develop hydrogen to go from the moon to Mars, or to go from Mars to another planet, then why would we still use fossil fuel down here for our factories and cars? We can take that information and use hydrogen, which the byproduct would be steam. It would be
Wonderful.
water vapor.
Yes. Wow.
And what would that do? I mean, if you could run your factory on hydrogen where it didn't pollute at all,
Oh.
why would you continue to use fossil fuel? So this is one of the ways that reaching for the stars. It's not about getting to the stars at all. It's about reaching for the stars and how it will change and impact our lives on planet.
And how much we learn and how much we challenge ourselves that in order to do that, we come up with all these solutions and innovations and things that we didn't know that were possible because we wanted to go somewhere, so we figure it out. And that's awesome. And also I'm thinking this question is wow, and why is not, you know, on the front page, you know, like this is a possibility. Why is not on the front page?
That's because they're bad at marketing.
Yes, yes. So we need marketing because these are things that affect our lives, you know, deeply. You know, they can really solve really big problems. It's not just about, you know, silly things. They're really important things more now more than ever. So this wonderful question from Jaime. I have another question here. This is from Marcos Moreira, and he says, I'm also interested in promoting space. And coincidentally, I am also writing a book called A History in 8 Bits, in which I also add the aerospace sector. Can you please clarify? I'm sorry, I think I got it. Sorry.
Well, one book that I would suggest that he look into is called Any Book from Joanna Penn, and Penn. It's about getting books done now because of the way things have changed. You're able to self-publish across the world without having to buy books. So I would recommend reading her book if you're when it comes time to publish your book. You don't really need a publisher as much as anymore that you needed
before. Yes, that's
there was
so
another
true.
one about hearts, the 3D printing hearts.
I'm gonna go. Yes.
3D printers, you know, they basically take materials and they build a 3-dimensional object. And it is done with plastics, or it's done even with metal. There, like I said, the Boeing and GE are printing airplane engines with 3D printers. And the beauty of that is that they're able to create some waffling in it where it's not as heavy. And then an engine that had 300 different parts is now one single part. So you don't have parts that are slipping and sliding and coming apart. It's all one thing, and it's lighter than it was and stronger. Wow. And they're also taking that into 3D printing hearts, which they can, you know, ultimately they're going to be able to take our cellular structure, our personal little prints, you know, our DNA prints, and 3D print a heart. And our bodies won't reject that. It's not like we're having a heart transplant with something, you know, somebody else's heart or another animal's part. You know, they've done heart transplants with pigs, and it is amazing. Now they're not close to actually doing anything consumer wise for a while, but the science is being reached for. That star is being reached for, and that will change everything down here. Fiber optics is another product that they're doing in space, where, you know, they're able to create a cleaner fiber where the communication even goes faster and better. And they're able to do it up in space because you don't have the crystallization that you have down here with that. So just other example, you know, there's so many wonderful examples that we have going on, and yet we have people saying, well, why should we go and explore the stars?
Yes, there's so much lack of information. I mean, yeah. And all these things that you have talked right now, I was, you know, listening to you, and I was like, this is like the movies, you know, like this is the kind of stuff that they used to show us on the movies, and we were so in awe when we see all these crazy things and effects, and we used to say this is like the far future, but it's happening right now, and we don't, you know, in our daily lives, we don't get to grasp how many changes that are happening because we don't get that information, you know, in the right way. Yes,
they don't know how to market it, and it's hurting us. It's going to hurt us if they don't learn. And
yes,
that's why I wrote the book, is because, you know, there's some amazing things in it. I one of the things that's a passion of mine is to inspire the next generation. I've worked with a lot of 12 to 18-year-olds and getting them excited about aerospace. And I want to excite the world about it. And that is marketing. Sharing your excitement.
Getting your people excited. Yes, and attracting those people that are excited for the same things, you know, that it's kind of like you vibrate in the same yes.
and I didn't know. And that was another thing is when I first was 13 years old, I loved space and I wanted to become a colonist. And I got to school and that dream was squished, and not by any adult. It was my peers. They thought I was crazy because who would do that? And it took me several decades to finally understand that I can take my love of marketing and I can mix it with space. You can take your love of cooking and mix it with space.
With space.
You can take anything that is your passion and mix it with space.
But a lot of people don't know. Yeah, so it's a really there's a lot to be done. Would you have that dream of being a colonist? Would you go, if you had the possibility, would you go, to Mars when Mr. Musk finally, gets her way and he goes to Mars? And let's not, don't think about, money or time. Let's say right now it's possible. Will you go to Mars on a SpaceX ship?
I would rather, I don't know if I would leave the planet because I love this planet. And that's part of what drives me is I love the trees. I love feeling that breeze on my cheek. And I would go visit, but I wouldn't want to stay there.
I just want to make a big shout out to some of the participants that are here. I see that we have Romina Angulo, who's one of our members from our STEAM Friends program that we had earlier in this year, and it's really glad to see her here. We also have Travis Holland from Australia, who was my classmate at ISU, and he's a communications expert. And I'm hoping that he will be one of our future guests. So it's great to see you here, Travis. And we also have Jaime Carbo and Gabriela Vivero, and glad to see you as great supporters of the Guayaquil Space Society. And of course, I also want to thank Marcos Moreira, who is our person in charge of all the YouTube channel, the videos being uploaded and all the creation of that content. So it's really great to have him here, and we're excited about your book, Marcos. Hopefully we can read it soon too. And with that, we're coming closer to the end of the program. And I just want to ask Izzy if you have any questions for us, anything that you would like to know about Ecuador, maybe that the group can answer for you.
Well, I'm excited about what you guys are working on, and I can't wait for you to have spaceports and all the inventions that you're going to add to it, whether it be possibly growing bananas in space or it's going to be a whole spaceport right on your coast. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do, and I hope that I can be a part of it in some way.
Thank you, Izzy. We definitely hope that you come visit us in Guayaquil. We'll be glad to host you here and have your book be presented to everybody, and maybe we can even donate a signed copy to the public library. That'll be really cool, and universities.
Yes, thank you so much, Izzy, for this great conversation. It has been eye-opening for me, and I'm sure for everybody else that has joined us. And I still have some questions, so I'm gonna write you. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and have you here. And to everybody else, if you want to get a copy of Space Marketing by Izzy House, you can find it on Amazon, and surely I'm gonna do it. So thank you so much. And you can also connect with Izzy in LinkedIn, right?
Yes,
so
and my website is izzy.house.
House, yes.
It's .house. So I was able to get that one. Yay.
Oh yeah, I was saying like the .com is missing, but now I understand. So it's izzy.house. That was cool. Okay, thank you, Izzy, and thank you everybody for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the
Bye bye. Take care. Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.